Hey there, ballers. Welcome to our Monday edition of our show. I hope each and every one of you had a wonderful weekend of all the baseball that went down. I'm your host, Joe Grado. Appreciate kicking off another week of MLB action. Today is Monday, August 11th, and we've got a lot to get through, but we'll be sure to be as efficient as possible so we can get back to another exciting week of baseball. This past weekend on Friday night, we saw his historic pitching matchup between Mad Max Scherzer in LA with the Toronto Blue Jays going up against the Dodgers, being led by left-handed future Hall of Famer himself, along with Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw. We'll be sure to talk about that historic moment that covers 17 years. Plus, we will take a quick look at the potential change at the top of the guard in the Wild Wild West. We're going to take a look at a couple interesting playoff races in both the American League and National League West, where there could potentially be a change at the top by week's end. We'll also spend a little bit of time discussing one of the normal perennial playoff contenders in the New York Yankees. The way they've been scuffling since June 13th makes you wonder, are the Yankees in trouble? We'll be sure to share our thoughts. And on during this past weekend, MLB called up the first female umpire in the game's history. She had been the seventh female umpire in professional baseball, but she is the first to crack the MLB ranks. Congrats to her. We'll be sure to give some kudos and shout out there. And before wrapping up, we'll be sure to touch upon last week of some milestones that some players reached. We're excited to talk ball. We're excited to be back behind the mic and back to regularly scheduled programming. So after the opening music, we're going to get right to talking ball. Play ball. All right. Thank you again, Ballers fans. We're excited to be back behind the mic talking about our great game and growing it to new heights. Before we get to our first topic of discussion, just want to give you all a friendly reminder of where you can find us. So aside from our podcast episodes, which you can continue to listen to on wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, be sure to check us out on our social media platforms as well. We are available on Instagram at Bases Barrels Ballplayers, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Bases Barrels 25, and on our YouTube channel, be sure to check us out at Bases Barrels Ballplayers. It'll be the logo just like you see behind us. If you are watching this episode, that's where our video podcast editions will be available on our YouTube channel, as well as all of our exciting baseball content that we are going to continue to make and that we have made through our content trips in the past. And be sure to become an official subscriber on our Patreon site, patreon.com/Bases Barrels Ballplayers for just $2 a month. You'll be able to win Bases Barrels and Ballplayers t-shirt giveaways, autographed MLB players, memorabilia, future MLB game ticket giveaways, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. And with that, let's get to our first topic of discussion: Mad Max versus King Kersh. So this past Friday night, the Toronto Blue Jays started a series in LA to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the billing was absolutely sensational and phenomenal. Two future Hall of Famers going up against each other. The first time Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw faced off against each other, it was actually during their rookie seasons. They were called up as replacements for Randy Johnson, who would go on to be in the Hall of Fame, was supposed to get the start for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Greg Maddux, who was also in the Hall of Fame, was supposed to get the start for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Both of those starters got scratched on September 7th, 2008. Max Scherzer would get the ball for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Clayton Kershaw get the ball for the Dodgers. Fast forward 17 years later, these guys are squaring up once again. History was certainly made. This is the first time in Major League history that two rookies would go on to each log 3,000 plus strikeouts and then later face off against one another. Scherzer, he reached the 3,000 strikeout mark back in 2021 when he was a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Kershaw, he did it himself about last month. So it was definitely fitting for Kershaw to reach that mark right before this matchup so that history could be made between these two greats who all they've done is rack up accolades, championships, and pitching pedigree the way that you should carry yourself every fifth day on their way to the Hall of Fame someday. Both legends answered the bell in this game for certain, not with their necessarily prime stuff, but with a stunning and continued craftiness of a veteran that is just almost more impressive, because with everyone throwing 95 plus, throwing absolute gas, it's almost an art form to see when guys go out there and pitch to pitch and not just rely on stuff. It seems like it's almost like a sense of nostalgia there. Dodgers got the 5-1 victory in this one. Kershaw and Scherzer both went 6 innings. Scherzer, he went 6 innings, 6 hits allowed, 2 runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks. Kershaw just a bit better, 6 innings pitched, 7 hits allowed, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 Ks. With the win, Kershaw moves into a tie in second place amongst MLB active pitchers with 218 career wins, with Scherzer only behind Justin Verlander, who's currently with the San Francisco Giants and has 263 wins in his career, another future Hall of Famer in his own right. So this is a matchup I hope you all had the opportunity, if you're watching baseball over the weekend, to watch, because you never know you're going to see a matchup like this again. This is the pure example of duration, competitiveness, craftiness, you name it. These guys are two warriors that have seen it all, and they've been dependable starters for well over a decade, approaching 2 decades now. These are two guys that are well on their way to Cooperstown, and hopefully have the opportunity to see these two guys work. I know it's not, neither of these guys are at the peak of their powers, but they can certainly give their teams an opportunity to win, just like they both did in this one. And it's a testament to longevity. And we're in a world where pitchers are so coddled, and it seems like the shelf life of arms is growing less and less. So when you see two guys like this match up, I hope you don't take it for granted, because we don't know how many of these we're going to see moving forward in this modern brand of baseball. But these two guys, they put on a show. Dodgers win in LA, and we were definitely treated to some baseball theater over the weekend there. So shout out to those two. Hopefully it's not the last time we see those two match up, but if we do, they definitely continue to leave their mark on the game, and looking forward to seeing where they both end up when it's all said and done. With the Dodgers, they, like I mentioned, they get the W in this one, and they go on to win the series 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays. They are temporarily able to hold off the San Diego Padres, who have been surging of late. And with that, that gets us to our next topic of discussion, which is about the Wild Wild West division. So out there in the Wild Wild West, not necessarily a whole conglomerate of teams, but the 1 and 2 spot at the top of each division, there can certainly be some shakeup that wasn't expected as recent as 2 to 3 weeks ago. Dodgers, they've been struggling, and like I said, they did rebound, but they've been a measly 10-10 over their last 20, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. This window of opportunity that doesn't seem to come too often with how mighty the Dodgers have been of recent over the last several years. The Padres, they've won 11 of 14 and have brought themselves within 2 games of the Dodgers for first place in the National League West. They had a very active deadline where they had 22 transactions, and it certainly seems like that shakeup has really paid off. They have really gotten stronger at the back end of games. Besides having Suarez, now they have Mason Miller back there closing out games additionally. And I do think having those two tandems, if you all you got to really do is go in with a lead into the 7th, and then it's night-night. So definitely they made some moves, I think, bolstered their club. And I think the on-field product, the guys in the clubhouse have responded positively to the moves that are helping this team go for it. So really curious to see how this all shakes out. Didn't expect anyone to come within this close to striking distance with the Dodgers for the NL West crown, but nevertheless, in come the Padres, who have seemed to be knocking on the door for the last few years. Let's see if they finally have the opportunity to do so this year. There are still 6 games left to be played between these two teams, so that certainly should leave the door open for some amazing baseball theater down the home stretch. So the last six games, 3 are in each building, so I like that too. Keeps it even. And they're both these series are coming up very soon. August 15th to 17th will be in LA, and then the following, the 22nd to the 24th, will be in San Diego. So get your popcorn ready. Those games, those teams already don't like each other. In fact, Mason Miller was on a podcast, and he told him one of the first things they told him as soon as he got into that Padres clubhouse after he got traded from the Athletics, they told him that one of the first things, they do not like the Dodgers. That was made very clear. So this should be absolute baseball theater. A lot at stake in these 6 games, and I'm sure there's going to be heightened emotions. There was certainly a lot of barbs traded the last 2 times these teams faced off against one another, and I don't expect anything less, especially with what could be on the line in the situation. So I'm circling it now. Be sure to tune into these two series. It's going to be must-see TV. You wonder if the Padres will continue the surge or if this is the way the Dodgers kind of reawaken and begin to increase that gap in that division race once again as we get into the back half of this season. So that's that on the NL West side. Now on the American League West side, Houston, they've been running away with the AL West for the majority of the season. Then all of a sudden, those Seattle Mariners up in the Pacific Northwest, they decided to say enough is enough, and they needed to lengthen their lineup. They've had several years of their pitching staff being one of the best in baseball. They didn't get off to the best start this year between effectiveness and some injuries where guys were landing on the IL. They are getting these arms back, and you're starting to see that production on the mound as similar to the last several years. They're getting back to being one of the best staffs in baseball at the right time. And the beauty of it, they're getting complementary play from their offense, which has been a sore point and what has been the focal point of what's held this team back in years past. So shout out to Jerry DiPoto. They went for it. They saw a window of opportunity this year. They saw the amount of talent they have on this club. And I'm glad they went out there and got Josh Naylor and brought back Eugenio Suarez, who was an excellent fit to lengthen this lineup. All of a sudden, Julio Rodriguez is sizzling. And Cal Raleigh continues marching forward with his AL MVP campaign. He actually hit his 45th home run over the weekend. He continues to be a cog in the middle of that order and being such a consistent presence behind the plate, mentoring and being a foundation for this pitching staff. So Cal Raleigh's really doing it all, and won't be surprised if he is the American League MVP by season's end, especially with where Seattle is at in the standings compared to where they were even a couple weeks ago. The Mariners, they come into today's play riding high on a 7-game winning streak, and they've won 9 of their last 10. And now they find themselves only a half game back of the Houston Astros that have been struggling a little bit themselves. Luckily for the Astros, they did rebound a little bit with a series victory in New York and the Bronx. They took 2 out of 3. And if it weren't for a go-ahead dramatic home run by Trent Grisham, they could have potentially swept that series in the Bronx too as well. So they get some much-needed win, a much-needed series victory, and you wonder if the Astros can start picking up some momentum once again. So baseball is buzzing in Seattle. This should be a fun playoff race all the way down to the wire, and 3 big games in Houston remain between these two clubs, which is going to go down September 19th to the 21st. So circle your calendars if you are intrigued. Obviously, Mariners fans got that one start. I'm sure the Astros fans do as well, but I'm going to have that one start. I'm sure these two teams also don't care for each other, and I'm sure the benches did clear. I believe in the last series, there was some drawing when the Mariners reliever, he came in, it was ineffective, hit 2 batters in a row, missed quite badly, and didn't seem like there was any intent, but nevertheless, the Astros didn't like it, especially that the reliever missed up in twice. There were some words exchanged back and forth, so I'm sure with what's on the line, I'm sure there'll be some added emotion in that series. That'll have that playoff-type atmosphere. You won't want to miss that. Currently, the Mariners, they're 3.5 games up in wild card position. They're in the first wild card spot currently, 1 game up over Boston. They are certainly a dark horse contender, the Mariners. They got a little bit of everything. They've got solid pitching at the back end of the bullpen. Munoz is one tough customer. I think if the Mariners just stay within themselves and play the game the right way and do what they are meant to do, I think they could have an opportunity to go on a little run here, and I think Mariners fans will eat it all up. So, should be a photo finish between these two rivals, and should be some good quality baseball, good vibes in the Pacific Northwest. Speaking of vibes to a team that is on the rise, to a team teeter-tottering, the Yankees could be in danger of being on the outside looking in to the postseason dance. So let's switch to our next topic of discussion and discussing if the Yankees may truly be in trouble. Coming into play, they are clinging to life for that 3rd and final wildcard spot in the American League. They're currently a half game ahead of the surging Cleveland Guardians. So by the numbers, since June 13th, it's when it all fell apart for the Yankees, apparently. They are 20-31 in those games in that 51-game stretch. They've lost 7 of 9. They come off this weekend losing 2 out of 3 versus the Astros, which is their 3rd straight series loss. So, and in a market, in the media like New York, those players and coaches must be feeling it. I feel like Aaron Boone got ejected yesterday to try to spark some life in that rubber match of that Astro series, but it kind of just felt like it was almost letting out some steam and frustration from the constant losing the constant pestering of questions of what's going wrong, when's it going to turn around. Obviously, everyone's fighting, competing in that clubhouse to try to do that, but they don't necessarily have the answers yet. And I'm sure it's wearing on each and every one of those individuals in that locker room. Aaron Judge, the captain, he was off to an MVP season, and then he had the elbow injury. He was out for a couple of weeks. Now he is back in limited capacity, just being able to currently be the designated hitter, but his presence back in the lineup, you think would have sparked something. It hasn't yet, but I'm sure he's still working on comfortability in that elbow. Just to give you a little bit of butter knife here, Aaron Judge, 743 and 2 home runs and 17 Ks in his last 13 games, which does bridge that IL stint. So you do see, and teams shouldn't be this reliant, but when Judge goes, this team goes. And when Judge is down, this team seems to go down too as well. So to me, Judge is always going to be the true MVP. I mean, he is that valuable to the team. That's no disrespect to Cal Raleigh. I just think with the way these two teams are currently constructed, the Mariners have more offensive depth than the Yankees, which is a sentence I never thought I would have uttered even about 2 weeks ago. So just tells you the funny quirks of this game we call baseball and the ebbs and flows of a season. That statement could be completely different in September if a couple of weeks of good baseball go the Yankees' way and the Mariners start slumping. I mean, that's just the peaks and valley of 162. It's why it is a marathon, not a sprint. But that is kind of my current sentiment of where these two teams are at the moment. Just lifeless effort, too. Seems I haven't seen a team with the Yankees just make so many constant base running errors, physical mistakes in the field that are routine plays, nothing that's asking too much, and then the accountability not necessarily being there. And I think the Yankees are such a storied history, and they pride themselves on championships, and they pride themselves on holding guys accountable and doing it the Yankee way. Well, if you're someone that's been watching recently over the last couple of years, I think the Yankees have taken a few steps back from that. I mean, between not the championship being the standard is the standard, that fifth inning in the World Series on the national stage was an absolute embarrassment. And then now caving in to certain players to make them happy in terms of the grooming policy. Notice that it just seems like each year they move further and further away from the Yankee way, and they continue to move further and further away since the last time they won the World Series. So you wonder if Yankee culture is going through some shock right now, and you wonder if they'll make the adjustments in time to get back into that postseason dance. There's plenty of time, and they do have an opportunity to get the ship right as they do open up the week with the Minnesota Twins, which is a team they historically have grand success, especially at Yankee Stadium. And the Twins are fresh off selling off, I believe, 10 of their players at the trade deadline. So they're currently in a state of rebuild. This should be an opportunity for the Yankees to feast. But sometimes those are the most dangerous teams in terms of where the Twins are at. Those guys have nothing to play for. No offense to them. These are guys, young guys that are getting opportunity that were at the AAA level, maybe AA, in other situations where they may not have if that Twins team was steadfast in a postseason race. But sometimes when those guys are playing with house money, they play for the love of the game. They play loose and free and play for one another. And sometimes positive results come out of that. So Yankees can't take them for granted because certainly nothing's really gone their way as of late since June. But the Twins could be a team that are looking to play spoiler here down the stretch. If the Yankees aren't careful, if they don't take care of business against this Twins team, don't know if they're going to have time to really right this ship in time to get back to that postseason. Should be feast or famine this week. Not that everything's going to be all set in stone, but I do think they got to get going now. And if they don't, they may have to set their sights to 2026. That's going to be a future episode. Yeah, that's right. A future episode where we may be talking about if the Yankees continue this downward trend, if it makes sense to shut down Aaron Judge for until 2026. So that's kind of where the Yankees are at. They have not had the opportunity to consistently turn it around, but new week, new opportunity. Let's see if they have what it takes to find that championship pedigree in their DNA. You know, this team, it was in the World Series last year. They were the American League representative, but they seem quite far from that level at the moment. So let's see if they take the steps, baby steps, by winning a series at home against the Minnesota Twins that they should win, and then building upon it from there. So we'll see. We'll keep track of the state of baseball in New York. Obviously, the Mets are going through it themselves. They're on a 7-game losing streak. We may have to talk about them on Friday if their struggles continue as they their season hopes continue to plummet. And finally, got a couple more topics. Some history was made, and this is going to be a segue. So we'll start with the most historic occurrence that happened over the weekend that we mentioned at the top of the show. Major League Baseball introduced and called up the first female umpire to officiate a Major League game in the game's history. So Jen Pawol is the 7th female in MLB history to, in professional baseball to umpire, but she's the first to reach the MLB ranks. So I just wanted to harp on that. She was assigned to be part of the umpire crew for this weekend's Miami Marlins versus Atlanta Braves game. She started out in the field on August 9th before culminating behind the plate for the August 10th game, Marlins versus Braves. It was very inspirational to women everywhere. You could see it all over social media that there is a place for women in baseball, and it seemed like that is a trend that's moving more and more in that direction. You're seeing women pop up more in the coaching ranks, and these are women that have a combination of experience in the professional ranks, USA baseball, softball experience, whatever it may be. They are starting to get the opportunity to share their knowledge and insight of the game and their perspective, and be able to put their own little twist and wrinkle on how to make a positive impact on developing baseball players and growing the game to new heights. I mean, that is what we're all about here at Bases, Barrels, and Ball Players, right? Is growing the game to new heights. So we want to make sure we give our kudos to where Major League Baseball is looking to grow the game. So I do think this is something. I am surprised that it didn't happen sooner, especially just seeing the occurrences happening in the NFL and in I believe in the NHL, but definitely in the NBA for sure. But baseball joins the pantheons too as well. And you wonder how many females are now going to break through the MLB, but it's going to be another barrier that has been broken. And it seemed like from the reaction of the two managers that she really handled herself well behind the plate, handled and controlled the game with poise and composure, made her calls confidently. That didn't necessarily score the best, but that is going to come with more experience and can live with that as someone continues to learn at this level. So she actually got her start. She is the pride of West Milford High School, West Milford, New Jersey. Shout out, fellow New Jersey native, Hoboken over here. So always good to see another Jersey person having some success on the national stage. She did get her start in professional baseball all the way back in 2016 when she was first assigned to the Gulf Coast League, and she was assigned to umpire the 2023 AAA, I believe the World Series. It was either the World Series or the All-Star Game, something like that. But it was the AAA World Series. So she's definitely been on a big stage, and now the stage continues to get bigger, and Jen has finally made it. So just wanted to congratulate her. Again, an inspiration to women everywhere, and hopefully we're just seeing the love of baseball grow to bigger and bigger audiences. That's what I'm happy about, and if she is the most qualified person for the job, and wishing her nothing but success, and hopefully we just see her continue to grow and influence other people to kind of follow in her footsteps. She's in some ways a pioneer, and it's good to see someone forge their own path without needing, well, I mean, I guess everyone needs a little help from their friends, but you know what I mean, as besides from getting maybe unfair advantages or unfair networking opportunities. She seemed to have done it as everyone else would have done it from the ground up, starting with travel and AAU softball games and just grinding all the way up to the professional ranks and then finally make it to Major League Baseball. So congratulations to Jen. Wish her nothing but success. And hopefully this is just the first of many years that we're looking back and we can remember 2025 when she got her start and turns into one of the game's better umpires. Because certainly the umpire room can use it. I mean, certainly you can see some bad calls that have been made from pole to pole in terms of this year. So maybe her perspective can be a fresh, warm welcome. All right, before we get on out of here, let's talk about some more milestones in history that was made along with Jen becoming the first female umpire in Major League history. Now, from the player side of view, Pete Alonso, he tied Darryl Strawberry as the Mets' all-time leader in home runs in franchise history with 252. Luis Robert Jr. of the Chicago White Sox, he hit his 100th career home run. Jose Altuve hit his 250th career home run over the weekend against the Yankees. He continues to cement his status as a Yankee killer. Cal Raleigh, as we mentioned a short while ago, he hit his 45th home run of the year, tying it with Johnny Bench for the second most home runs by a catcher in MLB history. Shohei Ohtani, he notches his fourth career 40-plus home run season. Very impressive. And White Sox rookie Colson Montgomery has 9 home runs in his last 17 games. Don't know many episodes where we're going to be talking about the White Sox multiple times like that. But shout out to those guys. All right, before we really get out of here, now we're going to give you a few series to watch. We're going to give you 4 different series to watch at the beginning of this week, and then we'll give you some more on our next episode. So first, Pirates Brewers. Brewers are riding high with a 9-game winning streak and the best record in baseball, 73-44 coming into Monday's play. They look to get 30 games plus over 500 and playing ball the right way. Shout out the Brew Crew. They keep putting the pedal to the metal. They come into the play today's game 5.5 games ahead of the Chicago Cubs in the NL Central. Next series to watch, Red Sox, Astros, return of Carlos Correa, who was traded back from the Minnesota Twins to the Houston Astros, will be sort of like a hero's welcome. And Alex Bregman will be his first time back, this time as an opponent in Dakin Park. But I'm sure the Astros faithful will give him a standing ovation as a member of the Red Sox. Red Sox, Astros should square off. And obviously, Alex Cora, manager of the Red Sox, returning to the Astros, should be a fun, exciting series there. Phillies, Reds looking to continue the surge toward playoff positioning. They come into this week's action 3 games behind the Mets for the third and final wildcard spot. Phillies come in playing some good ball, maintaining their lengthening lead in the NL East due to the Mets being losers of 7 straight ball games. And finally, Cubs, Blue Jays, 2 teams coming off tough weekends looking to right the ship. Off the off day on Tuesday, they start their first game of their series. Blue Jays still in fine position. They're up 6.5 games in the AL East, while the Cubs fade further and further behind the Brewers, suddenly 5.5 games out of first, headed into this week's action. And we're going to make a quick prediction, as we believe that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to homer against the Chicago Cubs in their series. And with that, that wraps up another edition of Bases, Barrels, and Ballplayers. We're so happy to be back with our regularly scheduled programming. On today's show, we recapped the historic matchup, the pitching matchup between Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw, and all the historical parameters around that. We were sure then to jump in and discuss what has been going on out in the West, some potential playoff position jockeying happening at the top of the AL and NL West, respectively, as well as the AL and NL wildcard races. Yankees could be in trouble. We discussed why and some key areas where they need to improve in order to get back and be in full control of their playoff destiny. The first female umpire, she has broken through. Jen Pawol from New Jersey. She was she was part of the umpiring crew in the Marlins Braves series, and then culminated with being behind the dish for the August 10th game. Definitely a monumental moment there. And then we shared some milestones and moments that went down over this past week. And with that, we are going to be back behind the mic for Friday's show. On Friday's show, we're going to talk about what went down this past week. We may be talking about what's going on with the Mets. And we're going to have a topic of discussion as we hear rumors and murmurings for when the CBA is up after the 2026 season, but figured it would be good to start introducing some topics of discussion. Is a salary cap coming? We'll give some pros and cons and what side of the coin we fall on. And then we'll give you some weekend series and players to watch before wrapping up for the weekend. So that's what's to look ahead for. Oh, and additionally, we did have the opportunity to meet with a couple of Diamondbacks players before their game against the Athletics it was a week ago, or maybe a couple weeks ago at this point. We will make those audio clips available for you at the tail end of Friday's show. So we're excited to share that with you. And then we also are going to have a couple of content updates for you to be able to check out coming for your baseball entertainment and viewing pleasure very soon. So a lot to talk and a wrap on Friday's show. So we're going to get on out of here and prepare for another week of baseball. That's all. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. Thank you for kicking off your week with us here at Bases, Barrels, and Ballplayers. We appreciate each and every one of you for being with us through it all. Hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoy the week of baseball. We certainly will over here. We'll be back again Friday, and we certainly can't wait to talk ball with you. Play ball.